Hi guys, JT here, and today I'll be bringing you some information on the Humble Bundle Twin Sales Interactive Bundle of November 2022. To help you answer the question, should you buy it? If you want to know more about game bundles, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I'm also a Humble partner now, so if you click on the link in the description below, you can choose to donate to yours truly when you buy the bundle, if you want to. Anyway, let's get into this. And number 1 we have A Game of Thrones, the board game, digital edition. A medieval strategy game. The goal is to spread your influence across Westeros through a combination of strategic planning, masterful diplomacy, and military might. This game is based on the best-selling A Song of Ice and Fire series of fantasy novels by George R.R. Martin. It allows up to 6 players to play online, or you can play single player with up to 5 AI opponents to play locally. The game is set after the death of King Robert Baratheon, and you can assume the role of one of the great houses of the Seven Kingdoms in an attempt to assault the King's Landing and claim the Iron Throne. There is diplomacy between players, secret orders, and highly unpredictable battles. Its basics is that it is a strategy game, but when playing, it's about social bargaining and deception. Anyone could lie, break bargains, and stab others in the back, because only one person can win by being the first to get 7 castles, but victory will be a distant away if you don't bargain. During each round, players give secret orders to every region on the map with their troops in it. You can move to another region, defend, support other troops, consolidate power to gain resources, or raid to disrupt enemy orders. The effectiveness and variety of orders is often determined by one of the 3 power tracks, which no one house can be the master of: the Iron Throne, Fiefdom, and King's Court. The Iron Throne breaks ties outside of combat. The Fiefdom breaks ties in combat, and the King's Court gets to change an order after they see what others are doing. Combat is simplistic and deterministic. You add up the strength of the units involved and add one of the character cards from your hand for a total. Hands are open, so you always know whether you can win a fight or not. Orders are the only thing they can truly control. You can recruit units, gain lots of resources, and push yourself up the political turn order. Equal-sized forces will often stalemate, and your soldiers and ships are precious commodities as they are not easy to get more of. So choose wisely on when and where you fight. With 5 other players wanting to take you out, you can't leave your base to launch a full-scale attack on one player, as you may just find that your unprotected base will be overtaken by another player. So you have to forge uneasy alliances with other players to take out a common foe first, before ripping each other's guts out. It is not a deep simulation, nor is it a mechanically complex strategy game. It's more of a planner and plotter strategy game. The game can be quite slow-paced as you wait for the other players to decide what they want to do on their turn. But this also translates to the single-player game where you fight against 5 AIs. You would think that the games will go faster against AI opponents, but they don't, and it can be very frustrating. In saying that, the AI is quite capable of taking you on. It fights hard in normal skirmish matches and understands how to punish you if you overextend yourself. You can also perform diplomacy with the AI by pointing out threatening leaders or making vaguely committal non-aggression pacts. Playing with other people is the heart of A Game of Thrones, and the social aspect of it, the bargaining, wheeling, and dealing, makes the tabletop game very popular. It is difficult to do all of that in the digital edition, unless you set up a separate voice chat application with everybody playing, and the difficulty is that you have to find a really dedicated group of players who have set themselves up for such a play system. And number 2 we have Blood Rage, digital edition, a strategy game based around Norse mythology. Ragnarok is coming and the end is upon you. You lead a proud Viking clan in their final fight for glory and for the rite of passage to Valhalla before Ragnarok descends upon all of Viking life. Take command of your warriors, pillage villagers, and make good use of gifts from the gods and conquer your place with Odin in Valhalla. This game is best played with 3 or 4 players, but it can also be played with 2 players or solo with AI playing the other sides. The gameplay is driven by 2 primary phases over 3 ages or rounds of play, with the goal of earning victory points from conflict, objectives from quest cards, and increasing the ability score of a player clan. Moving further in the game, the stakes are raised from cards that provide more points and a board that shrinks, tightening the space for engagement. The game ends in the final stage of Ragnarok, filling Valhalla with victorious heroes. In the first phase, players will draft cards. You will choose 1 card and pass the remaining cards to your neighbor. With each card choice, you will form a strategy by selecting cards worth points, bonuses in combat, ability upgrades for your clan, or monsters summoned from all manners of the mystic realms. During the second phase, each player will perform actions, turn by turn until you pass. Some action requires rage points. You can play units on the board, move them, upgrade them, or fight other players. Your strength is determined by the units you have in the province, or ones that you have moved in from adjacent provinces. You can also add to your strength in any combat value from 1 card in your hand. The winner of the battle gains victory points equal to the Axis clan ability score. Once all players have passed quest cards resolved, a single province on the board is destroyed, beginning a new age or round. After 3 ages or rounds, final points are calculated and the highest score wins. Graphically, the game is pretty good and surpasses a lot of other digitized board games. Players who aren't familiar with the physical board game will also be in for a treat. You'll find that the gameplay is exceptional, with strategic and tactical choices bringing an exciting brawl of epic proportions, especially with a full player count. Whether you are already familiar with the physical board game or not, this is a good implementation of the physical item. If you're new, you may stumble a little bit at the beginning, but with perseverance you can get past these and enjoy a highly strategic game. And number 3 we have Ticket to Ride. A cross-country train adventure in which players collect and play matching train cards to claim railway routes connecting cities through North America. This game offers a few options for your multiplayer needs. There's the regular online PvP option to match you up with other random players, and the LAN option where you get to play with your friends and family who have gathered for a weekly night of tabletop gaming. If you don't have any friends, you can always play with the game's AI. At the start of the game, you get to choose a player card with a character illustration on it, representing your avatar. The color of your chosen card will also determine the color of your trains on the board. When the game actually starts, you draw 2 from a pool of 3 tickets. Tickets with longer routes award you with the most points. But longer routes shouldn't be the only priority, as you have to pick new routes that will either intersect or connect with your current route, to have a better chance at winning the game. After choosing your tickets, you get to choose 2 colored trains from a spread of face-up cards, or pray to the train gods and choose from the face-down cards. The digital version makes it very easy by showing you markers for the beginning and end routes. Remember that the goal of Ticket to Ride is to claim as many train routes as possible, and successfully connecting them from the beginning to the end point. Where this game becomes interesting is how you interact with other players. You can't just crisscross train routes, or your trains will just cause catastrophe, killing everybody on board. This also means that you can expand your strategy to block your opponent's routes as they try to connect their routes from the beginning to their end route. You have to make sure that you aren't focusing only on blocking, as you can lose points at the end for incomplete tickets. What the digital edition lacks is the human interaction, which would have been more fun and interesting if you have friends around you, threatening to burn your car when you have successfully blocked their route and delayed their victory. The strategy aspect of Ticket to Ride is awesome and will have you stop and really debate what your next best course of action is. It is definitely more fun with friends, or if you're a streamer with a following of fans. And number 4 we have Carcassonne, Tiles and Tactics. A classic tile placement game based on the award-winning game in which players draw and place a tile with a piece of southern French landscape on it. Basically in this game, you place tiles of roads, buildings, and connect them. Depending how you orient and connect them, and where you place your meeples, you will be rewarded with points. The victor is determined by whoever gets the most points. This game is popular because of its low skill floor and high skill ceiling concepts. It takes minutes to learn how to play, but if you're going against experienced veterans, you will find your kingdom in utter chaos in the end, as you are bullied out of a lot of points by your opponents. You can't simply throw your tiles wherever you want, as you have to connect them and strategically think if your opponent is going to block you with their tile, so you are unable to complete your building project. Opponents can also steal ownership from you by creating new building sections and roads with more meeples on them, then connecting them to your projects, wiping you from the board and stealing points off you. This game can be brutal, but if you learn these tactics over time, you'll be the one bullying other newbies. Each match lasts between 20 to 30 minutes, so you can quickly hop into the next match and hope you're matched with somebody that is of your skill level. This game is fun if you want to feel like a land developer, or if you want to play the role of a greedy developer who just wants to steal land off people. And number 5 we have Mysterium, a psychic clue game. A cooperative deduction game set in the 1920s. You're a psychic trying to find a murder's culprit, location, and weapon, but the only clues you have are illustrated cards given to you by the ghost, who is another player playing as the supernatural being. The ghost forms your psychic visions with these cards. You can either play on multiplayer or alone. There's also a story campaign if you wish to partake on a single-player tabletop adventure. In the multiplayer, you can either play the role of the ghost or the psychic. You can let the game decide this for you, or you can pick which role you would prefer to play. As a ghost, you can see the murder, location, and weapon. A psychic will work through those 3 in order, only moving on to the next stage in deduction when they have picked the correct option. The ghost could guide them by giving them 1 or more vision cards. Once everyone has worked out their combinations, there is a final round where the ghost gives 1 final set of cards out to guide the psychics to one of those murder combinations. To win, you must work out your specific murder combinations in a certain number of rounds, then pick the correct final murder scenario. Thus, it is in the psychic's interest to collaborate with each other by peeking at each other's cards and sharing theories. The vision cards are deliberately ambiguous landscapes, but you can usually find a card in your hand that could hint at what you're trying to tell the psychics. Like, you may want to tell them to investigate the library, but you only have a flying carpet card, so you can use that card as a hint, because maybe the library has the same colored carpet, and hope that the psychics can somehow work that out. While the psychics can chat amongst one another through the game, the ghost is unable to, so you can only talk to them through these cards. You can also spend a crow token to get new cards if you can't work out how the cards could relate to the hints that you want to give to the sidekicks. It's fun yet frustrating when you're the ghost and you hear that somebody has actually solved the case with your clues, only for the others to talk them out of it or they doing it to themselves. The fun of Mysterium is in trying to unravel the weirdness of someone else's brain or in trying to use cards available to you to talk to those sidekicks. And number 6 we have Splendor, a digital adaptation of another best-selling board game. You play as a Renaissance-era merchant as you seek to secure cards that represent the various mines, cargo ships, and bazaars responsible for the acquisitions and distribution of your valuable gemstones. On your turn, you are presented with a selection of simple actions that allow you to either take gem tokens from the available stock, reserve a card in the central area, or alternatively, purchase a card outright with the gem tokens and gem bonuses which you currently have. The cards in the central zone sports a different colored gemstone from a selection of 5: ruby, sapphire, emerald, diamond, or onyx. When you purchase one of these cards, it is added to your table, granting a discount bonus and 0 to 7 victory points that will determine endgame scoring. Alongside the table, you will find several randomly dealt noble cards that will grant additional victory points to players who acquire gem bonuses of a particular color group. Once any player has managed to earn 15 victory points, the current game round finishes and the final scoring is totaled to decide the winner. This game is easy to pick up and it may seem simple, but there are some interesting layers of strategy to uncover, and you'll come to appreciate the most efficient paths towards victory. There's a multitude of strategies that you can use throughout your game that will make your game very interesting, if you choose to invest in learning these strategies. You won't ever feel like an actual gem dealer though, as this game is more of a numbers game than anything else. There's also a handful of single player challenges which you can take on, and these are similar to chess puzzles. Your task is striving towards a particular goal, such as earning a set amount of points in a limited number of turns or collecting combination cards without assistance of gem tokens. This game has also been updated to include multiplayer now, so you and your opponents can compete with each other in acquiring and distributing precious gemstones. And number 7 we have Small World, a digital board game set in a fantasy world inhabited by some whimsical fantasy races. The goal of this game is to end the game with the most victory coins. You collect coins by having your race tokens conquer the different regions on the board. Each region is worth 1 coin at the end of each turn. Before you start though, you have to pick a race combo. You start with 5 coins which you can use to pick any of the 6 combinations. Each combo will provide new strategies based on abilities and perks within the combination. The first combo is free, but with each combination below it costing you 1 coin per level. You will receive a number of race tokens based on the sum of the number of your special powers and the number of your race. When you start the game, you enter the board along the borders of the small map. Then you can start your conquering escapades by conquering lands that are adjacent to your land. An empty region takes 2 tokens to conquer, while an inhabited region takes 2 tokens plus the number of inhabitants and markers in the region. Red regions cannot be conquered as they are either inaccessible or too well defended by your troops to conquer. On the last conquest of your turn, you may roll a dice. Once your conquest is done, you will redeploy your troops, and in your turn you will obtain new victory coins based on how much you have conquered. After a few turns, you'll find that your race is overextended, and you'll be badly weakened by violent neighbors. When this occurs, you can abandon your race and your region becomes uninhabited. In saying that, you'll still receive victory coins for those regions in that turn. On the next turn, you can choose a new race to start conquering again. However, if your second race is also in decline, your first race will disappear. The good thing about this digital version is that you don't have to physically keep track of all tokens, which really helps. Additionally, you won't be punching your friends to figure out its rules, as the game confines you to within the rules of the game automatically. The play continues for 10 rounds, with points being accumulated for each territory you control at the end of each turn. The player with the most victory coins wins. This game supports between 2 to 5 players, and the size of the board will scale depending on the amount of players playing, making it more dynamic than the physical board. However, you do lose that human touch, like all other digital board games in this list. And that's all for this bundle. This bundle is great if you like to play some board games, but you do not have the luxury of spending the money on physical versions, which can be quite expensive. However, these digital boards do limit the social side of these games, which is the main attraction to board games in the first place. Anyway, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.